I my attitude about bombing is that in any time you're bombing on stage, if as long as there are people listening and there are people in front of you, you're just building attention between yourself and the audience. And if there's no laughter and there's just silence, it's just building more tension. And the more tension you can build, you're just a moment away from a big laugh. So like you've never lost it until you've decided you've lost it. So you can like have moments that are bombing moments, but at any moment in a stand-up set, as you know, you can flick the switch and turn it around, and that's the joy of it. That's the fun of it. That how can you wrestle it back? And um, yeah, I enjoy like really leaning into bombs like that where it feels like, oh, he is so shit. And then something changes in you, in them, and or maybe it doesn't, and maybe you just eat shit the whole set. But there might be a lesson there. Maybe there's not. Maybe just tired and in a bad mood, and um, but there's always something. I mean, it's very rare to do a set that's like where it's not worthwhile in some way.
Mm.
But I mean, you spoke about like the attitude of being an athlete and doing comedy. I think that there is a like there's a lot of resilience required to do, especially stand up or any performing arts, but definitely stand up because it's so unrelenting and night to night, and you're really opening it. But I remember there was this Pokemon game my brothers played a lot as when we were kids, and there's one that out has been emblematic of like what stand up is, and I can't remember what character you were, but there's these rocks being catapulted at you, and basically what you have to do, you have to harden your shell when the rocks are thrown at you and protect yourself. And every time you lose a bit of energy. But if the rock hits you and you're not protecting yourself, you get squashed and you lose a lot of energy. So the trick of the game is just to like harden your shell for as little as possible just to protect yourself, and then otherwise remain open as much as you can. And I feel like that's so much of, doing stand up is that just staying open, staying paying attention to what's happening in the room, in yourself, and other times off stage, sometimes even on stage, you need to have a sort of self-preservation apparatus to insulate yourself and just navigate the scene a bit because there are so many different um, jostling egos and that you have to navigate and realize that it's never personal, even though it's so tempting to take all these little interactions personally, that everyone's going through a lot of shit and just we're just there to like make people laugh. So I don't
Mm.
know. Anyway,
That's
I,
good.
I'm just talking shit.
Dude, no, it's a good point. That's it's interesting. I feel like one of the like when I see you and you're just flowing, you seem to have a nice balance between like going from your material to actually riffing a little bit with the audience. And I saw like a perfect example. You posted on Instagram the other day, just you at the Resistance Bar here in Melbourne, and it was just such a funny line. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you're speaking to, I think it was one guy,
Yeah,
and you said you looked over there and it sounded like there was seven different laughs coming from that one direction.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
go,
yeah.
this guy, he's got seven different people in his heart. And it was like, it's such a nice riff moment where I'm a real fan of that style of comedy where it's like, all right, yeah, he's clearly not just going through his routine. He's not just reciting jokes that he's worked on in the shower for 45 minutes and he's coming out here and just to show us his recitation. It's you get
Yeah.
out there and you do your jokes, but also there's a guy with a funny laugh, and you go, but hey, do you know what I mean? Like, is that
Of
something you
course.
feel quite comfortable doing? Is that like to be able to
Of course. I
tap
think
into?
yeah, I think I just follow my instinct of what feels most prevalent in the room. And I think often the funniest thing to do is going to be something that's happening in the room.
Mm.
I mean, and being, but just having the freedom to let go of the good idea that you thought was so good beforehand. I mean, it's important to explore that as well, and that's how we create material. And I think the audience appreciates it as well because as soon as you do something like that, they realize, oh, this person's they're with us. They're listening to what we're seeing and what we're giving, and that they maybe feel more connected with you because of that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Where are you getting your material, man? Is it like, have you got a routine where you'll sit down, you go, all right, I'm going to write for half an hour today? Or like your mate says something and you go, actually, he's not a comedian. I can take that and make that way funnier. Like, because this is something I find really interesting. I've been at it now for 3 years, man, which is like relative newbie. I don't know how long you've been going for.
About where I've been really going at it. This is my seventh year, nearly 7 years, where I've
Yeah,
been
same.
going at it, a lot.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm constantly just trying to navigate is where does the best material come from? And so often the answer is sometimes it is, but so often it's not just sitting down and going, all right, here's it. I'm just going to write like a joke that I think might be funny. It's usually the spontaneous stuff for me. I feel,
Of
which
course.
is the most natural, the most funny. Is there something that stands out to you in your own sort of schedule of where your best material comes from?
Well, I think it's a balance, isn't it, of exercising that discipline of writing or trying to mind and doing all you can in that regard, and then just paying attention to the rest of your life when funny moments happen, when someone says something that you think, oh, that could be something, and writing it down and then sharing it. Uh, I mean, the answering the question of where does the best stuff come from? I mean, that's the elusive question, isn't it? And there's no precise answer other than like paying attention to your own life and paying attention to yourself and how you see the world. And saying something that's authentic to you. I know that seems like an overused word these days, but a good example of what I mean when I say that is there's this one comedian I saw. I only saw him one time. He was 16 years old or 17. He was a student, and he had this where he said there are two types of parties. There are parties before year 10, and then there are parties after year 10. And so good because for him it's and we can see it's so true from his point of view in the world. That is his truth, and there's something funny just about that is articulating this really passionate thesis on the two different types of parties and how they can be divided. And I just thought it was great.